What do you think of when I say the word recycling? Maybe green or clean, possibly even good. It's probably fairly safe to assume that whatever word or image comes to mind when I say the word recycling is probably fairly positive. And why wouldn't it be? We've all been told to recycle since kindergarten. We're doing our part to save the planet, right? Well, listen up, because this trashy truth is going to flip everything you think you know on its head. To understand the problem with recycling, we first need to understand why recycling exists. And from my point of view, I see three main drivers to our recycling dilemma: excessive consumerist behavior, aka we buy way too much crap, a shift to more wasteful consumption of goods, like single-use items and designed obsolescence, and a well-crafted fairy tale of a greener future for all of our trash. So just how much stuff are we talking about? Well, Amazon, you may have heard of them, sold $10,000 worth of goods every second in 2020, according to CBS News. That's a lot of items, packages, delivery trucks, and trash created in just 1 second. Now multiply that out by the whole year, and this is just one company. We buy a lot of stuff, and most of that stuff is made of plastic. Now I want you to take a second and think about what you recently purchased in the last week. Go on, I'll wait. You got it? Was it a toothbrush, a video game, the all-important hand sanitizer? Maybe you just wanted some takeout. Looking for some new clothing, maybe some leggings or a warm fleece? Whatever you purchased, I'm going to bet that it was either made of or packaged in plastic, because everything I just mentioned contains plastic. So what is plastic, and where does it come from? Plastic is a polymer made from petrochemicals. That's right, oil, natural gas, and coal, all fossil fuels, all non-renewable resources. And while plastics have done a lot of good for humanity, think healthcare, food quality control, and water and sewer access, it has also done a lot of harm in the form of waste that can't or won't be recycled. This hurt is particularly felt in disadvantaged communities around the world, many of whom rely heavily on plastic and commonly receive shipping containers worth of our plastic to dispose of. Take this image of a coastal community in Cambodia, where the volume of plastic in the waterway is choking out marine life, embedding itself into the fish that community members depend on as a source of nutrition, and increasing the prevalence of standing water, which is driving up mosquito populations and the diseases that they carry. Imagine if this waterway was located behind your home, or was located along the street your child walked on to get to school. Humanity's relationship with plastic is endangering the very safety it is intended to provide. Because plastic, left in the environment, like on the side of the road, or floating in a waterway, or packed into a landfill, will not decompose for centuries. In fact, plastic doesn't really decompose in the traditional sense. It just breaks down into smaller and smaller pieces, contaminating our waterways and food supply. Every year, the world produces 300 million tons of plastic, equivalent to the weight of the entire human population, according to the UN. Think about that. We produce the weight of humanity in plastic every year. Houston, I think we have a problem. Now, to understand that problem, we need a little history lesson. Our consumption of plastic has steadily increased since the end of the Second World War, with much of that increase coming in the 1980s, much of it attributed to advanced manufacturing of different types of plastic, making them more versatile and affordable. And as plastic availability, adaptability, and affordability took off, so did its applications. Soon, plastic was used in everything from shopping bags to vacuum cleaners to facial scrubs and home siding. Along with the increase in single-use convenience came another change in product development, that is, designed obsolescence. The idea that even if a product isn't designed for single use, it is designed to have a limited number of uses before it breaks or becomes obsolete. Manufacturers of technology and machinery are masters of this practice. Everything from your cell phone and computer to even the household vacuum cleaner are designed to have a limited number of uses. And you know exactly what I'm talking about, right? That cell phone update that won't take, or the home appliance that needs a new part that costs just $10 less than a new device. But it wasn't always this way. My mother, a baby boomer, has had the same Kirby vacuum cleaner for the last 30 years. This thing still works, backed by a lifetime warranty, too. And while products like this do still exist, they are few and far between and come with a pretty high price tag, leaving many of us, including myself, to opt for the affordable plastic-based vacuum cleaner that has an average lifespan of only 8 years. And it's not just electronics. Clothing is made, priced, and marketed to be used only a few times before it breaks or becomes obsolete to the newest fashion trend. How often do you opt to repair a piece of clothing before buying new? This mindset, the ease of buying new, and the price of goods is driving up our waste crisis. So what was that last thing you bought again? How long do you plan on using that? A year? A month? Maybe only a few minutes as you enjoy your takeout. Before you click buy, I want you to think about how long that item is going to be in your life and where it's going to go when it's no longer useful to you. But hey, what about recycling? Isn't that the solution? We were all sold this idea that recycling was the guilt-free solution to the single-use plastic bottle, the feel-good story of a milk jug being transformed into a new park bench. We were made to memorize the 3 R's from the age of 6: reduce, reuse, and recycle. Sadly, recycling has not turned out to be the hole-in-one solution we were sold by chemical companies. That's right, chemical companies. Designed, branded, and lobbied for recycling programs. Not because recycling worked or is an effective way to manage our growing demand for plastic, but because it gave them a get-out-of-jail-free card to produce as much plastic as they wanted. Because you see, the industry believed, and still believes, that if recycling works, they can sell more plastic. Now, while many under the age of 40 will have not seen this following ad on television, the Crying Indian has had a long-lasting impact on our relationship with plastic. This ad first aired in 1971, around the same time as the first Earth Day celebration, one of the largest mass protests in U.S. history. The pressure to reduce pollution was high, and this ad turned the tables on who was responsible. It wasn't the packaging and petrochemical companies that were the problem, but the average citizen who littered. Me, you, we were the problem and held the key to the solution. All we had to do was recycle. Mind you, this ad and the organization behind it, Keep America Beautiful, were promoted by packaging and beverage corporations, the same companies that were producing the very plastic products that were littering the countryside. Nonetheless, this ad worked. Americans started to feel better about plastic, and acceptance of the new material grew, along with new recycling programs. But it'd be a long time before recycling was universal. Many towns didn't offer curbside recycling, and plastic packaging didn't include the iconic chasing arrows. Without widespread recycling, trash was piling up and landfills were overflowing, leading many states and local governments to banning plastic and foam packaging. The industry saw these bans as a threat to their survival and responded by setting up a handful of demonstration recycling programs around the country, many of which were not financially viable in the long run and shut down after only a few years. But what's more, the same companies that were producing the very plastic products that were lining our stores and roadways designed, proposed, and lobbied for the iconic plastic labeling system. You know, the chasing arrows with the number inside? Designed to help consumers identify which plastic was which, the system only added to the confusion what was actually recyclable. Because to you and me, a product with that symbol on it means it's recyclable. When advocacy groups requested a change to the labeling system to make it clear to users which items were actually recyclable, removing the chasing arrows was a non-starter for chemical companies, resulting in decades of confusion for well-intended consumers. Because you see, all plastic can be recycled, but not easily or affordably. And those different types of plastic, the number inside the chasing arrow, they need to be separated and cleaned before they can be recycled, a process that's become increasingly difficult and expensive in recent years. The economic viability of recycling programs has steadily fallen over time, leading much of what is sorted by consumers as recycling to being thrown out. As far as we, the consumer, can tell, everything we put in the blue bin once a week is getting recycled. And that is the myth that we have been sold since kindergarten. That just because it can be recycled doesn't mean it is recycled. Recycling is a business that has to have a sellable product in order to survive. And today, what we have created with single-stream recycling, a broken labeling system, and wishful thinking is a second trash stream that's being sent to the other side of the world to be picked through and burned. Unthinkable. Deceitful. That's how I felt when I first learned this trashy truth. The companies were weighing the value of future generations against this quarter's stock price. Sadness and hurt is how I felt when I first learned that communities in Vietnam were paid just a few dollars a day to pick through our plastic trash, throw out the few items that can be easily and affordably recycled before burning the rest, giving off toxic fumes including hydrofluoric acid, sulfur dioxide, dioxins, and heavy metals. Recycling, and specifically plastic recycling, is not the get-out-of-jail-free card to make yourself feel better about using a plastic cup for your cold brew. We, all of us, need to focus on the other two R's, reduce and reuse, and demand better from the corporations who have profited from the throwaway culture they have cultivated. End the myth that consumers are responsible for plastic waste management, and in turn make those plastic manufacturers responsible for the products they produce through end of life. Make your voice heard through your wallet. Look for companies that have strong waste reduction commitments or provide warranties for their products so that when the item does break, you don't have to go out and buy a new one. Don't just challenge yourself to do more, but encourage others to do the same. Look for 2 to 3 plastic items you use daily and look for ways to eliminate them or identify long-lasting reusable solutions. Opt for cotton clothing over synthetic fabrics. Explore new biodegradable alternatives to everything from cell phone cases to eyeglasses. And don't discount the pre-loved market from everything from clothing to furniture. Advocate for policies and legislation that reduce our dependence on plastic while making sure that those policies don't have unintended negative consequences on our most vulnerable community members. There is a chance that we can correct this dangerous cycle. The state of New York has banned plastic bags, and the city of Philadelphia has passed a plastic bag ban as well. But you can be sure that chemical companies are taking notice, and their ad machines are hard at work convincing all of us that recycling works. But we know better, and you know better. You have to say something. You have to speak up and demand change. Because if you don't, the next generation will be made of plastic in more ways than one. Thank you.